Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and today we are asking the question, are coffee shortages going to kill your business in 2022? This is going to be an interesting one. Before we get started, if you are interested in getting help with creating a customer acquisition plan or anything else for your small business in the coffee industry in 2022, consider contacting Mapper Forward for our consulting services. We have a variety of consultants that can help you with a lot of the different things that you might need information on. Also, our consultants will help with roasting programs and setting up a menu for you, all these kinds of things. We have different consultants that can work with you in the coffee industry around the world. So head to the show notes and check out our link if you want to get in touch and have a conversation. So are coffee shortages going to kill your business in 2022? It's an interesting one because there are a number of reasons that coffee small businesses are under threat in 2022. And I mentioned in a recent episode of the podcast that even successful businesses are under threat for different reasons over the next 24 months. You know, even if you have a line around the block, if you don't have staff to serve that line, you won't make any money. You'll make very little money. Equally though, if you don't have access to stock so that you can sell to your customers or make them coffee, you won't make the revenue that you could be making. Now, if that revenue doesn't cover your operating expenses as well as your cost of goods, you surely will go out of business. And so if we look at the general rules of business, if you can't get access to the fundamental stock that you sell, if you're a coffee-focused business and you can't get access to coffee, you no longer have a coffee-focused business. You will have to pivot to something else. How do you avoid getting into this situation? And we are seeing companies around the world starting to get very nervous about their stock supply levels for 2022. And I can understand why. With the coffee shortages getting more and more intensified, producers putting their prices up, and other logistical constraints putting even further pressure on inflation, what you're going to see is that the landscape of the way that business is shaped in different cities around the world is going to change. And a lot of the ways that you've built your business and a lot of the nuance that you've inbuilt into your business is going to determine whether you stay alive or not as a business. For example, what does your credit line look like? How much access do you have to capital? What relationships have you built with your staff? Are they staying around or not? What relationships have you built with your suppliers? All of these little things are different strokes of the same paintbrush that will determine whether it ends up being something that means that the creative endeavor you've gone on building this business will work out in your favor or not. So let me give you an example of how even a successful business in that situation, in two different scenarios. Let's say one business has access to an extraordinary amount of capital. Let's call that business A. Business B doesn't have access to an extraordinary amount of capital, but they invested the years building relationships with producers and have a healthy supply chain where the producers know that they will get paid and they're willing to give terms to that business because they've supported them through thick and thin. Now, in those situations, what you're going to find is that because the business B is prepared to pay a fair price for the coffee, they don't need to lean on the capital that they have or don't have. They don't need to lean on a line of credit because the big problem there is supply. And they have that locked and loaded. And they know that they can count on those producers to give them the coffee that's needed. Business A, on the other hand, has focused so hard on being profitable over the years that because of their profitability, they've managed to gain access to greater lines of credit and they've got better VC funding, so they've got capital sitting there. But they haven't invested the time that's required in building the kinds of relationships with producers that mean when other people are getting shut out of supply chains, they would have access to them. So in this scenario, it doesn't matter how much capital you've got access to. If you want access to the supply chain that business B has got, you'd probably have to buy them out and buy business B if you're business A, and you will 100%. We're going to see a lot more of that happen across 2022. And I've spoken to many business owners who know that they are already going to be lined up for some serious supply chain constraints and are considering that strategy. We're just going to go and buy businesses that have really great supply chain management systems and supply chain relationships, and we are just going to go and consume those businesses so that we can then use those resources across all of the businesses. So it's something to think about. There are a number of reasons that businesses are going to be threatened with closing. I look around Sydney at the moment. I look at how cafes are full, and it makes me very happy, and I'm very excited for the cafes just to see how excited people are after being locked down for 18 weeks, how excited people are to go back and visit cafes and restaurants. And it's been awesome to be a part of that and go and visit cafes and restaurants and enjoy food again and all that kind of stuff. However, every one of them is hiring. Every one of them can't get enough staff. Every one of them is struggling with trying to put their prices up. So it's going to be an interesting and delicate dance over the next 12 to 24 months as we start to see things heat up a little bit from an economic and supply chain perspective. And consumer behavior will determine how smooth the transition is to higher prices as the supply of coffee becomes more constrained. And it will. It absolutely will. The coffee shortage is not going away anytime in the next 2 years. From all indications, from all the producers I've spoken to, this is not going to resolve itself in a quarter or half a year or even a year. So your relationships are going to mean everything right now. And I hope you've got it on lock. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Don't forget to subscribe. Have an amazing rest of your day.